Hi, my name is Matt with Rush Truck Centers, Huntley, Illinois. Thank you for taking a few minutes for me to show you some exciting new features on the new 2018 International LT. This truck appeals to everyone in the company, from the driver all the way to you, the owner. That's because this truck has the lowest operating cost and is the most driver-centric truck on the road. Sometimes it's the little things that make the biggest impression, and International took this very seriously. They had 3 separate driver clinics where they asked drivers questions after the drivers had seen the LT, and then most importantly, they listened to what the drivers had to say. Also, this truck is fully customizable, so when you, the owner, come in to see me, we can build this truck just how you like. I'll get into that a little bit more later. But for now, I want to point out that International LT comes in several models, 1 day cab, and a multiple of sleepers. Today I'm going to show you the 73-inch Skyrex. I'm going to start at the front. I want you to notice how aerodynamic this truck is. The hood and bumper come in 3-piece sections. The reason for that is so when your driver bumps something here and you have to replace it, no longer do you have to replace the entire bumper, just this corner. Notice how they've also moved the fog lights to the middle of the bumper. Now, if you're replacing a corner, you don't have to mess with the fog lights. The standard LED headlights are also new to the LT. They give your driver a greater visibility at nighttime, and they can be replaced without tools. So let's open this bad boy up. And as I do, I want you to notice how easy this hood is to open. So easy, even my wife can do it. She can't even open the hood on her own car, but she tells me that's what she has me for. When under the hood, it's very easy to check the fluids because they're in translucent containers. If it's that easy to check the fluids, that easy to open the hood, your driver's more likely to do so. And with International's extended service intervals, it's going to increase your uptime and lower your costs. I told you this truck was fully customizable, and that doesn't change when it comes to the engine and the transmission. For the engine, you can choose from International's A26, which is the lightest 13-liter engine on the market. It gives you a horsepower range of 370 to 475 horsepower. Or you can choose from the Cummins X15, which gives you 2 options. The efficiency with 400 to 500 horsepower, or the performance with 485 to 565 horsepower. With any of the engines you pick, International did another thing. They lowered the amount of blades on the cooling fan. What that does is it allows more horsepower to be used for driving the truck down the road and less for operating the cooling fan. When it comes to the transmission, you've got several options also. You can go with the Eaton Fuller 10-speed manual, or you can go with the Eaton fully automated transmission, and then you've got the Allison TC10. All 3 great transmissions. I've driven all of them. It just depends on what you're trying to do. A lot of owners are going with the automated and the automatic for driver retention reasons. As you know, it's tough to get drivers and even tougher to keep them. So International is trying to help you keep your drivers happy. The next thing I want to talk about is more for you, the owner. Probably the most important thing when you're buying a truck that you think about is fuel economy. With the 2018 International LT, compared to the 2017 International ProStar, it has up to 7% higher fuel economy. And if you compare it to a 2010, 2011, you get up to 15% greater fuel economy. One of the reasons why is in the back. The Holland Air Slide fifth wheel is 25 pounds lighter. The next thing I'll talk about is your single can after treatment system, which is built 105 pounds lighter and is also much more efficient. By that I mean, with 200-gallon fuel tanks, it has a 1-to-1 ratio, meaning your driver only fills up his DEF when he fills up his fuel. That's going to keep him happy, keep your costs to a minimum. The next thing I'll talk about is your heated breakaway pedestal mirrors. Now these have been lowered and moved forward. What that does is decrease driver's neck fatigue, keeping him on the road longer and more comfortable. I did say they were breakaway mirrors, but in case you have to replace one, the wiring harness is now at the base of the mirror, meaning you don't have to tear up the inside of the door just to replace this mirror. And if you break the glass, just like the headlights, you can replace that without tools. Now, we're going to climb inside this bad boy, and the first thing you're going to touch is the door handle. And you're going to notice how sturdy that door handle is. It's also big enough that if you've got a snowmobile glove on, you can still get your hand in there to open it. It's got staircase-style steps, so your driver can get in and out much more safer. This door is also 2 times stiffer. That's going to give your driver more comfort in the wintertime, and it's going to keep the cab a lot quieter. Okay, now that we're inside the International LT, I've got a lot to show you. First of all, let's start this bad boy up. Notice how quiet this cab is. It's the quietest cab I've ever been in. I had this truck going 70 miles an hour down the highway, the guy sitting there, another in the back. We had a conversation, didn't have to raise our voice. This cab is extremely quiet. If your driver's on his hands-free device, the microphone is right here. His wife's not going to have to strain to hear what he's saying when he's on the road. Notice while I've been sitting here, I have my arm resting on the door here. Drivers told us that their fingers had inadvertently hit buttons and their elbows were being poked by the door lock. Well, International took care of that too. And this is comfortable. This is more comfortable than my car, actually. And while we're talking about comfort, I want to point out that I'm almost 6'3". And look at all the leg room I have. That's due to the redesigned HVAC system. The best in-class HVAC system. Drivers had told us that in order to keep the cab cool, their hands were freezing. Well, with the 5 completely closable dash outlets, you can close these 2. Hands on the wheel, you don't feel a thing, cab's nice and cool. Another thing drivers asked for was a flat surface to work on in the cab. Of course, while they're sitting, not driving. Now I'll point that out over here in front of the passenger seat, nice flat surface. If you pop that off, you'll notice there's your fuses and a nice description and diagram of where they're at. Also, your driver's going to set a drink there, coffee, big gulp, whatnot, and if he spills it, no problems. Your fuses are going to stay completely dry because of the gutter system. No worries on that. And then this is just simple, snap it back into place. The next thing I'm going to point out is that International moved all the most used controls closer to the driver. They also laser etched them and backlit them, so the labels won't wear off for the lifetime of the truck. That's awesome for your driver when he's driving it. It's even better for you as the owner when you're selling it. The next thing is probably my favorite. It's the lanyard style air horn. Drivers told us that they were having a hard time locating the air horn on the steering wheel here in the middle of an evasive maneuver. So International moved it back to the lanyard style. And if your kids are anything like mine, they don't drive down the street doing this to get the truck driver to honk the horn. They pull the lanyard. Scare the crap out of me on every road trip I go on. The next thing I'm going to point out is a pretty big deal. It's the stalk shifter. They've moved it to the steering column. And what that does is it allows your driver to keep his eyes on the road while he's shifting gears and operating the engine brake. And with the new VGT turbocharger, it's going to give you 67% more power with that engine brake. The next thing I'll point out is the 5.5 inch center display that comes standard on LT, and it's fully customizable with things like real-time fuel economy, axle load, and several of your safety mechanisms. You can customize that however you want. The next thing I'm going to point out, since we've been talking about your driver keeping his eye on the road, is visibility. International did away with the vent window, lowered the nose of the truck. And what this does is give your driver greater visibility, and he can see closer to the truck. And if you're stuck up here in the north, like me, the best-in-class defrost system will get your driver back on the road faster and safer. I've talked a lot about safety, so I'm going to have to point out that with International, collision mitigation comes standard, with things like adaptive cruise control and lane departure warning, just to name a couple. Again, I had this truck on the highway. I forgot to hit my turn signal here when I switched lanes. The truck let me know. Another feature that's kind of nice is the USB that comes standard. Now this is a 5 amp USB. That's going to charge your devices much faster than the usual 1 amp or maybe 2 amp that you get with the radio. Now I've only scratched the surface with 2018 International LT, so I'm going to invite you to come down to Rush Truck Centers of Huntley, Illinois and test drive one for yourself, because you really don't want to buy another truck until you've test drove this one. And if you can't get to Rush to see me, give me a call at 815-543-4316, and I'll bring one to you. I'll see you soon.